4th of July has always been one of my favorite holidays of the year, with the fireworks show, the barbecue. Even when I was growing up, my family always threw a big 4th of July barbecue in the backyard. It was just one of the amazing times in my family. I couldn't even have asked for any better times. But there's only one 4th of July that stands out to me of the most, and not in a good way. This actually is the only one that's creeped me out. But luckily though, it didn't stop me from loving this particular holiday ever since. It happened about 8 years ago, around the summer of 2015. I was 24. My name is Linda. I was living with my boyfriend, still live with him, Noah. And since the 4th of July was approaching, we decided why not to throw our own party with a barbecue and some fireworks. We invited some close friends and we told them they were allowed to bring at least one or two friends of their own. And when everyone arrived, we had a great time. I mean, we interacted with some of the new people that we never met before. One guy named John, this is about him, just to mention it. He was invited by Noah's best friend, Nick. And during the party, I was interacting with John and get to know him better, but it wasn't like until 4 p.m. when John started hitting on me. I told him I was already had a boyfriend that I was living with, but John didn't believe me and continued to flirt with me, so I had enough and left to interact with some other guests. But while I was doing that, I could see in a distance from my point of view that John was looking at me and I started to feel uncomfortable. But when the fireworks started, I was approached by John again. But it was clearly he was not sober. He was pretty much wasted, since the beers was served at the party. Now under influence of the alcohol and flirted with me again, I told him to leave. But he grabbed my arm and said that I wasn't leaving and I would live with him to his place and be his new girlfriend. I was horrified. I mean, he just literally grabbed my arm and told me that I was his new girlfriend and that I was leaving the place to go to bed his place. I looked around desperately for Noah, but I couldn't find him anywhere among the guests or among the other people. And it was so loud. I wouldn't have been able to be heard if I yelled out at all. But luckily though, I saw Nick. And I made eye contact with him. And he saw how John was towards me. So he walked up to us. He told John to let me go. And John got offended and told Nick to leave and mind his own business. And I was his girlfriend, and that to leave us alone, and punched Nick right in the face. That got attention from the other people, and they started to hold in on John from kicking Nick in the stomach. And the worst, the fact that Noah ran out of the house, and he held me tight. One of the guests called for police, and as they showed up, as they were dragging him away to the car, he yelled out that he was sorry for asking for forgiveness, but I will not accept that. I pressed charges against him and had a restraining order against John. And it was the last time I even heard or even seen him since. This turned into a regular occurrence for him. It turned out he ended up in jail for a few months, but I hadn't even seen him since. And from what I've been told from Nick, that he cut all contact with John altogether, and he was fired from his job and all that. And I prefer to say this, John, you got what you deserve. And please, let us never meet ever again. I love all the holidays, especially 4th of July. I mean, with all the fireworks, the barbecue, you name it. It always has been one of my favorite holidays of the year. But there's only one time that stands out pretty much bad to me. It happened around 11 years ago, around the summer 2012. I was 25 years old, and I was invited to my friend Allison's 4th of July party along with my then fiance, now husband, Mark. We were actually invited and we had a great time. She had even, Allison had invited some of her co-workers, one particular guy named Robert. At the first meeting with Robert, he looked to be very pleasant, friendly, and very talkative. Allison told me that he's a very outgoing guy and that she had been working with him for a few years. And I can tell right now, it's he was really outgoing. He was very talkative, and I wouldn't say if I was the same. But anyways, during the party, Allison's boyfriend was cooking burgers, hot dogs for all the guests. While I was enjoying my hot dog when Robert walked up to me to have a conversation. And during the first when I was talking to him, I didn't see any red flags at all, or he didn't give off any sort of creep warnings or anything. At first, he was normal when he asked me if I would like to be interested to go out with him. I looked at Robert with a stunned face for a moment and told him that I was already engaged and showed him my ring, but he told me that he didn't believe it. Again, asked me out if I want to go out. But I said firmly that I was not interested and walked away. I started to really feel uncomfortable, but I didn't tell Mark since, I think Robert was just only willing to try again, and I kind of regret that I didn't tell Mark about this. I should really have done it. But anyways, as the party was going on, and then as the fireworks were started, I was focused on the fireworks and then suddenly I felt that someone grabbed my butt. And I thought, well, it was Mark, since he sometimes do that to me to tease me or something. But I told him to stop, but when I turned around, instead of facing Mark, I was instead facing with Robert standing behind me with a grin and said that he knew that I like it and asked me out again. But this time, I was so much over this. I was so annoyed. And I tried to walk away. But he grabbed my arm and started dragging me away from the party. He told me that I was coming home with him and that he wouldn't take a no for an answer. As a last resort, I yelled out so loud, so loud at least that Mark could hear me. Hopefully. Despite the loud fireworks, and it worked. Mark turned around and saw me, that he saw his fiancée being dragged away. I cannot even see what his face was like, because I believe that maybe he was just smiling when he watched the fireworks. When he saw me yelling and being dragged away, it really was not a good thing. Because that distance, I don't know how he looked like. But I think he looked horrified. Can anyone blame him? Seeing his own fiancée being dragged away by this random guy that only had interacted with his fiancée for only a couple of times during the party. It's unspeakable. It's unbelievable anyone would even been going so far. But during this commotion, even Allison's boyfriend Roy got attention and he ran after and he told two of his friends to come along. So these four guys ran after Mark and he managed to grab me away while the three other guys pinned down Robert to the ground and hold him there. He said to let him and his girlfriend go. They were just leaving to go home. But I was clearly shaken up, scared. I was crying, telling Robert what has been telling what was happening, and that Robert said that all that was lies, and he changed his story that Katie had been flirting with him the whole time, which wasn't true. One of the guests actually called for police, and they arrested Robert. After this event, Allison and Roy chose to end the party earlier, and everyone left while there was only me, Mark, Roy, and Allison left. Even 1 hour after this event, I was still pretty shaken up. And me and Mark had chosen to spend the night there. At least if Robert would come back, I would have at least two strong guys that would protect me. Robert was later charged for harming me, attempted kidnapping. He was sentenced 6 months in prison. He lost his job and all of his friends. Even when he came out, he tried to put the blame on me. But luckily though, no one did even blame him. And even I had a restraining order against him. Last I heard that he left town, and it was peaceful though. I mean, I hadn't even seen or heard him since from that 4th of July party. I mean, at the beginning he was only coming out as a very polite, friendly guy, outgoing. But as the party was going on, he started showing his true side. I started wondering, has he been done that anything like to Allison or perhaps even other female coworkers? I doubt it though. I mean, if that happened, Allison would have mentioned something like it. But I don't think he'd ever done. But anyways, since Robert was no longer living in the same town, which is a good thing, because I have no clue what else he would done. So Robert, it's a good thing you moved, because now I have the permit to carry a weapon. So stay away from me ever, ever.